Develop and host monthly dynamic job-alike and subject matter consortia to network the brightest ideas and best practices and to provide practical, cost, and time-effective implementation support. And finally, outreach. Visit every school and community college district on a regular basis. Observe the best each district has to offer in the classroom and instruction. Share the wealth of knowledge and advocate for support.
Thank you. And we'll move on to the next question. Jeff, you'll be the first responder on this one. What is your opinion on charter schools and homeschooling?
You know, it's important that we provide flexible options for our families and our students. And it's important that they get the services that they need. And with that, many districts do provide alternative programs. And as a continuation high school teacher, I saw a lot of those students who struggled with the traditional program. So it's very important that we provide outreach. Charter schools have evolved initially to help inner city students escape underperforming schools. And that really hasn't turned out to be true. And what's unfortunate is that we really need to provide the most services for them. The other thing that I struggle with charter schools is about accountability. We've had many examples in Alameda County where there's been some shady dealings. Founders paying themselves for rent. It's just not okay. So those alternative programs, whether they're charter or through the district, need to be held accountable just like our public schools do.
Thank you. Karen?
So at Alameda County Office of Education, we have a program, an independent study program that's called Quest. And one of the things that does is provide an option for students who, a lot of whom are involved in the juvenile court system or need an alternative to their regular school setting, to have that. I believe that homeschooling for some provides that, but oversight is key with these alternative programs. The districts and counties, when we're responsible, need to take that role seriously. As far as charters are concerned, they are a part of our educational landscape. That is true. Oversight is key. At the county, we have 8 charters, and we take the role of accountability very seriously with those charters. It takes a lot of resources to do that, but we prioritize that. We have a lot of the administrators who are at our county office ensure that the academic programs are what they should be, and our fiscal folks at the county office go in and make sure there's fiscal solvency for those programs.
Yeah, maybe we can come back to that topic. You never know. All right, Naomi, we're going to move on to you.
I think that choice for parents is important, especially when you look at families that are in under-resourced areas. What we know about our parents is many of them have to make choices around safety first and educational programs second. There are many charter schools out there that are doing wonderful, wonderful work. However, what we see in some of our charter schools is that the academics actually are no better than the local public neighborhood schools. However, what they do offer are smaller class sizes and smaller communities that are typically safer than what the neighborhood school should be. These schools need to be under the same regulations as our regular public schools. They need the same fiscal accountability as well as the same academic instructional accountability. They need to have credentialed teachers teaching the classes that are making livable wages.
Thank you. Helen?
The ACOE board has had difficulty focusing on key factors involved in charter schools. As the superintendent, I would demand higher scrutiny of any application and would make certain that my staff and I would be well prepared to keep board members focused on the critical and important elements required to approve a school charter. I am very familiar with at least 2 charter schools, one of which received its charter and one that received a renewal primarily because previous deficiencies were not kept in focus during the deliberations. I would be a serious advocate for using all due diligence in considering charter school plans and applications. With that said, there are charter schools in Alameda County that are serving at-risk students more successfully than some public schools in that same district. Based on California Ed Code, charter schools have the right to appeal a district decision to decline their charter application. Under my watch, ACOE will objectively and carefully review their appeal and reach a well-thought-out conclusion.
Thank you. Ursula, we'll wrap up with you.
Okay. Charter schools are here to stay. We have over 30 charter schools in Oakland Unified, and charter schools have a place in local education. So, and you also asked about homeschooling, and I believe that with charter schools, homeschools do provide an avenue for parents who are looking for a different program for their students. So I wanted to say that the thing that has to happen, though, is that we have to regulate, make sure that the charter schools have teachers that are credentialed, the charter schools are up to standards, and that the students that are coming out of charter schools have as many resources as our students in our public schools, and that they are coming out with the same level of education. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Karen, we're going to start this one with you. How do you think the district is doing with the county-operated schools?
I'm sorry, I'm going to ask you to repeat that. How is the district doing?
Sorry, excuse me. How do you think that the county board of the county superintendent's office is
The County
doing?
Board of Education.
Thank you for helping me out with that.
Who actually have purview over approving or denying charter petitions. So I, as staff, it is Alameda County Office of Education's job to oversee those schools. And I think by and large, Alameda County Office of Education is doing a good job. However, I will admit the staff is stretched by this. The more charters we have, the more burden it is on our staff. So one of the things that we really seek to do is utilize all the resources in the building to make sure we're holding schools accountable and providing them the support necessary. So our educational services staff provides professional development where needed to our charter schools, and our board frequently looks at their progress and revisits that around the time of renewal often.
And Karen, I'm just going to add for the next folks on this question, I think also we might be thinking about, say, like the Butler Academy or Camp Sweeney, other schools that are operated by this function.
Okay.
So I apologize for having an unclear question.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought I heard charter.
So and I got us off to a bad start. So I'm going to just try to refocus here and make sure we're all clear on the question, which is, how do you think that this entity is doing with the county-operated schools? Naomi.
Well, I would say that there's always room for improvement in any system. We at the County Office of Education run the court and community schools as well as the education at juvenile hall. So I'd like to just pause for a moment and talk specifically about the education of the students at juvenile hall. Those students are going to be exposed to the Common Core standards, just like the students in our district schools. They should be receiving the same high-quality education as all of the other students throughout the county, so that not only means exposure to the Common Core standards, but also high-quality instruction that's provided by fully credentialed teachers. What we're looking for at the hall is certainly kids that not only would be receiving the same type of quality education in the hall as they would be at their home school, but also education around life skills, as well as career support and exposure, so that when they are released, they have different opportunities available to them.
Thank you. Helen?
I'm going to answer this quite differently from everybody else. When you get onto an airplane and the flight attendant is telling you about the oxygen mask that drops down from the ceiling, who are you supposed to put that on? You're supposed to put it on the adult first. And with a huge millions of dollars surplus at Alameda County Office of Ed, and with classified employees that don't make enough money to put food on the table or to put a roof over their head, basically they pay for their benefits and that's it. What we're asking them to do is work with the most difficult at-risk students in the county, and we're not going to pay them a living wage to do that. And I would say, if we've got a surplus at Alameda County Office of Ed, where are we putting our priorities? If the wolf is at the door, how good a job could you do if you had to work with this group of students?
Thank you, Helen. Ursula?
Mm-hmm. If I were to grade the Alameda County office on the work they've done and the alternative programs, I would give them a D. And I'd give them a D for their, not for their teachers. The teachers are amazing. If you think about it, especially in the court schools, the transition and the transiency of the students happens on a daily, weekly basis. As far as the fact that almost 30% of the students are special ed students in there, in addition, and they have to find out what exactly each student has needs for their individual programs, they could be doing a lot better. I think that we have to give resources to those alternative programs in the form of technology. I think I went and visited, I only saw computers used in one classroom within juvenile hall. And so we're not doing great, and I hope to focus on those programs as the superintendent.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Jeff, we'll wrap this one up with you.
Thank you. Well, as mentioned before, there's the budget, the county office is about $40 million, and they have a $25 million surplus. And of course, kind of scratch your head, well, why? But the most important thing is to work with our students in juvenile hall and the community day schools is they need to connect and make a connection with education and adults. So I want you to think back to a person who's made a difference in your life, whether it was a coach, a parent, an aunt or an uncle, and they helped you to find your passion. And it's so critical that we help these students to connect with something successful. As a continuation high school teacher, watching those kids graduate brought a tear to my eye, and I felt envious that I missed that. For me, high school graduation was something you just did. For them, this is a lifelong lesson of success, and it's absolutely critical that we bring that success to them so that they can reconnect and return back to their home schools, especially with the bulk of the students who are in need of special education services.
Thank you, and I'm happy to say that the voters who are here, we have a rebuttal. Excellent. 1 minute for you, Karen. Thank you.
All right, so it's a rebuttal / clarification because I didn't get to answer the question in the way it was intended to be answered. So in terms of the quality of our schools at Alameda County Office of Ed, I definitely take a continuous improvement stance. We have some programs that are high functioning. We have many, many teachers who are extremely high functioning who've been working with our students for years. And if you've had the opportunity to observe in these classes, you know that is not an easy job. I think it's the hardest job in education to do, to educate the group of students that we have. We have our programs that educate pregnant and parenting teens that are exceptional. We have our programs in our max units where I would put the instruction there against any instruction that's happening in a comprehensive school. Continuous improvement is what we are about. There needs to be greater safety, greater access, and greater
Thanks,
development.
Karen.
Thank you.
Well, and I'm happy to tell our candidates that the audience, who is comprised of voters, has come to our rescue and has sent in some questions, which hopefully are clearer than the last one I asked. All right, so we're going to start with you, Naomi, on this one. How would you reduce staff and teacher turnover in districts?
Part of reducing staff and teacher turnover has to do with professional development. I think what happens with teachers, certainly when I was going through my teacher preparation program at Mills College, you get a lot of theory and then you're thrown into a classroom. And I think that, you're feeling very confident and very well prepared. However, at some time along the way, you stop and start thinking, I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. And in order to prevent people from guinea pigging on our kids, I think continuous professional development is very important. And there are many areas that the professional development might come in. It might be around classroom management. It might be around curriculum and instruction. It might be around how to better engage students. I think that when you set up professional learning communities for teachers so that they can hone their craft as well as have the opportunity to talk to each other meaningfully about the craft of teaching, we can retain more teachers.
Thank you, Naomi. Clearly a subject of passion. Helen.
One of the things that I've done as a school site leader is to develop professional learning communities. And if you don't know what that is, it's not enough time in a minute to explain it to you. But one of the things it does is it helps teachers to collaborate. So that is one of the things that I would certainly encourage every district to do, because I saw it work with struggling teachers. But I will tell you, this is a double-edged sword. The job of teaching is not for everyone. And sometimes you go through the credentialing program, you become a teacher, and then you realize this is a whole lot harder than I thought it was. I don't seem to be engaging with kids. Maybe there's another calling for me. So I don't think everybody that goes into education is prepared to do the job, but the ones that are and they have that gift, we need to make sure that we're giving them all that support to keep them in the profession, keep them going.
Thank you, Ursula.
I think as a county superintendent, you need to also work with the administrators and the different districts and the superintendents of the different districts to let them know the data that shows that most minority students are the ones that are getting the less experienced teachers. They're the ones that the English language learners who are stuck in schools with brand new teachers. And you see where the money is going to the schools that have the most experienced teachers. So there's definitely a data pool there that shows you that when you have experienced teachers, you get better students out of them. There's been a issue about teachers and getting them for our classrooms and having enough teachers in the first day of school. And our school districts have gone to different consulting firms to get Teachers for America or teachers like that, but they don't come from our own communities. We need to look at our own communities and look to actually provide professional development and
Thanks, Ursula.
yes.
Clearly we hit some passion with this question. Jeff?
Well, today, as I mentioned earlier, there was a lawsuit settlement with LA Unified for about $60 million for those schools that had huge teacher turnover as a result of layoffs. And what's really evident about that is, again, attracting our best and brightest. And it is incumbent upon the superintendent to really push those districts to make sure that they work with their teachers association to provide incentives for those teachers to stay. But more importantly, they need to have a safe and a healthy working environment. And that's not only the facilities, it's not only about safety, that they feel safe in their room, but also to have functioning facilities and to make sure that the school district is spending the dollars that are needed in order to have a safe and comfortable classroom, not only for the teachers, but for the students as well. The third piece of that is to make sure that they have the adequate staff development training. You've already heard that from everyone else so far. And to make sure that there's a support program for those brand new teachers and to provide those incentives to build that school culture and community where they can be successful.
Thank you, Jeff. And I think does that wrap up?
No.
No. Thank you, Karen. I knew you would keep me honest.
There you go. I think the single most important thing in retaining teachers is actually school culture and educational culture. So teachers need to have an affirming environment in which to flourish as professionals. So that does include professional development, but it also includes an administrator who is able to hear and respond to teachers' needs. A lot of times, well, one of the things we're doing is working with a program called Mills Teacher Scholars, which actually builds into the professional, to the teaching profession in the individual teachers. And what's important about that is that teachers are able to actually guide their own professional development and add to what they want to learn to become better professionals and feel more positive about the profession as a result. So that school culture, district culture around teachers is what's important.
All right. Back to you, Naomi. Is that right? To Helen. Back to Helen, yes. Okay. Do we have a rebuttal? Oh, we have a rebuttal. Ursula. That was great.
Okay. This isn't exactly a rebuttal. I just want to keep going with my topic. What I wanted to say was, in addition, what I was talking about was that our teachers, when I was working in human resources, we have a BITSA program, which is beginning teacher support. And what happens is you get a teacher who is mentored to with a teacher who has many more years on the job and is able to actually give support where it's not evaluative, where they have the ability to ask those questions and not feel like, I can't ask anything because you're going to evaluate me. That was a program that I think has to come back. It has to be in all the districts. Right now, it's only in some districts because it's based in a silo almost, where you have it and then different districts don't have it. We really need to encourage BITSA and make sure that our beginning teachers have that support.
Clearly a topic where maybe we can come back to that, although the financial questions are starting to pile up here. So we're going to go back to money. And Helen, we're going to start with you on this one. Is there a surplus at the county board? And if so, what would you do about it or with it?
I just spoke a few minutes ago about that oxygen that the adults need. I'm going to repeat it. The adults need to be paid a living wage, because if they're going to help students that are at risk and that have so many needs, we need to make sure that the needs of the adults are being met so that they can meet the needs of students. I can't impress upon you that fact enough. As the trustee on San Lorenzo School Board, I can't tell you how many times employees have gotten up and said, I am working for benefits. That's all I get. From my job, I get benefits. How do we expect them to do amazing things with kids when they can't even put food on the table based on the fact that they're not making enough to do that? That's where the surplus. Let's heal the cuts first.
Okay, thank you, Ursula.
Yes, what I would do is definitely look at the books. Right now, I took a look at the budget, and there are a lot of items that are in the budget that are not clear. There isn't transparency. I saw one item that said building fund, $100. I have no idea what that means and no idea where the money's going. It needs to be transparent. We need to actually also take those funds and give back to the workers that are on the site. There are a couple of people that have told me that they go back to school, they get higher degrees, but their salary doesn't change. That shouldn't happen. We should be giving people step increases if they go back to school and get more education, because we are the education leaders. We're promoting education, but we're not giving back for people who are going back and getting more education.
Thank you, Jeff.
Well, serving on a school board, we've seen this trend where districts have large reserves, and they've done that because they want to pad for uncertainty. At one point, we had trigger cuts back in 2008 that took money mid-year. We then had a question of additional trigger cuts the subsequent year, depending on the tax revenues that come in. And then we had whether or not Prop 30, and so a lot of our teachers were very generous in providing their hard-earned money in order for us to save programs. But having a budget surplus of $25 million on a $100 million or $40 million budget is absurd. This money needs to be returned back to the students and the districts. And it's very important that you take leadership and then execute on that vision and that plan so that those dollars are invested to improve those programs. This is a wonderful opportunity for us to do that, and that's certainly what I would do.
Thank you, Karen.
So this is a new era in a new fiscal era for our districts and for the county office as well. One of the things that we are doing, have been doing, and will continue to do is talk to our bargaining units and our employees about compensation. So we're in the midst of negotiations at this point, as are many of our districts. Also, the other topic that we are considering and having discussions about are health benefits. So in the wake of the Affordable Care Act, knowing that that's something that as superintendent, I want to prioritize for our employees, figuring out how to make sure that folks are better able to afford their the healthcare benefits. So these are the things that the current surplus will go to fund. We also do fund teachers who have advanced degrees or get additional education. So they do, and step increases as well.
We'll turn to you, Naomi, for the last word possibly on this topic.
Yes, there is a surplus at the County Office of Education. So many things need to happen there. First and foremost, the superintendent needs to look carefully at how the surplus came to be. It's important for the public to know where those dollars came from. It's important that we take care of the adults that are working with our most fragile population of students. Specifically, I'm talking about the teachers and the paraprofessionals, but also we need to look closely at where the dollars came from and are students missing out on services based on that surplus. We need to look carefully to find out what things may have been cut that students should have access to, what things might not have been fully funded that they need to help support their educational opportunities, so that we can be sure they're getting what they need today. Unfortunately, for many students that have already gone on to other placements back to their home communities, they might have missed out of some opportunities because of that surplus.
Thank you. Ursula, we're going to start this next question with you. What does a full service community school mean to you?
That means a school that not only serves the students, but serves the parents, serves as a meeting place, a place of gathering for the community. It's a place where if parents are in need of any extra services as far as medical or resources, that school has that information for them, that it wraps the programs around the student, and that no matter what the need is, that the community knows that if they go to the school, they can get help for that need.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff?
Well, one of the things that we need to remind people is that, Prop 30 stopped the bleeding and things didn't get worse. But we're just starting to get back to our funding in 2008, if we're lucky, by 2021. That's the governor's plan. Again, 2021, to return funding back to where we were in 2008. So we're starting to then recover. And we have gutted programs, and especially those programs for our most needy students, and that's a crime. It's very important that we provide full services, and it's so important that the kids, when they come to school, need to feel safe. They need to have nutrition. They need to be able to focus on their schoolwork so that they can be successful, because they may not have a successful home. But it's also important to provide those services to parents as well. And so it does cover mental health services. It does cover your medical services. It also covers nutrition so that student can have a success at their school.
Thank you, Jeff. Karen?
So if you have been involved with Oakland in recent years, you know that this is a huge part of their vision, full service community schools. And what full service community schools say is that the school is the hub of a network. So bringing healthcare services to bear, mental health services, community-based organizations, activating them in service of the students and families who are in that school. This is something that I am proud to say that the Alameda County Office of Education and my vision for the way forward is to actually be able to help schools provide those services. We have wellness programs, we have smoking cessation programs, we have health programs, all those things. We have also our arts integration programs. All those things need to be brought to bear in terms of education for the whole child. And that's what full service community schools do. Look at the whole child, the whole community.
Thank you, Karen. Naomi?
Full-service community schools really are schools that offer wraparound services. So not only do they provide high-quality educational experiences for their students, they also provide things like health and nutrition. They serve breakfast, lunch. Many of these schools actually now are serving dinners, not only to students, but to their families. They offer health and wellness opportunities on the campus. There might be health screenings available to families. There might be dental screenings available to families. Additionally, they offer things around mental health and counseling. Really what these schools are they are community hubs. They're places where the families can go for extended hours, not just between the times of when academic instruction is going on, but beyond that, in order to be sure that they themselves have the services they need, and so that their students have a place to thrive.
Thank you, Naomi. Helen, we'll wrap up with you on this one.
Okay. You might have seen several years ago the 60 Minutes piece about this very same thing going on in New York City. It was inspiring, and my feeling is that in San Lorenzo and San Leandro, we're kind of working towards that in terms of the new Ashland Community Center. It's a new and different way of trying to provide services for the community at large in that area. One of the things that I would like to see is the preschool component be there, because if we can give students, especially at-risk students, that leg up so they're not walking into kindergarten already several years behind, but they can be right there at the cusp of what they need to be on to move forward, I think we're doing a world of good as far as the community at large is concerned and helping these kids be successful.
Thank you. Jeff, we'll start with you on this one. If you were meeting with the superintendents of the 18 Alameda County school districts, what is the one request you would make of them, and what would you expect them to ask of you?
Well, I've met with all the most of the superintendents, and I would ask them what do they need to be successful. It's so important to make sure that we talk to our superintendents. It's their house. It's their place. It's not my place to come in and tell them how to do something. I'm here as a resource. I'm here to provide them with the staff development training and support for them to be successful. I would then ask of them, what is it that you need from me? How can I then leverage the resources that we have to help you achieve your goal? I think in these agencies, we try to be everything to everyone, and that's not going to work here. It has to be customized and unique for each district, because each district has specific needs. And it's very important that the county office specialize those services for them.
Thank you. Karen?
So when I have met with the 18 superintendents, one of the things that they ask for is for us to be a resource in many different ways. So I think if you remember, I talked about the FACE acronym. I think being flexible is important because needs shift as the fiscal climate and the educational climate shifts. I think one of the things I would ask of them, and we are asking this around the local control accountability plan, is what are your goals? What are your goals specifically? What are the outcomes you're trying to achieve? Because our highest use as a county office of ed is to power the goals of our districts, power the goals for academic and fiscal success and viability. So knowing those goals well will help us to serve our districts the best we possibly can.
Thank you. Naomi?
I mentioned earlier that the first thing I would do upon becoming superintendent would be to collectively work with the Alameda County Office of Ed Board and the district superintendents around setting a vision for the county office. So when I went to go back and talk to the superintendents, what I would be asking them would be to play their part in rolling out the vision. The county office cannot fulfill their vision without the support of the districts and vice versa. What I would expect them to ask of me, I would expect them to hold me accountable for being the educational visionary for the county. And that has many, many different components of it. I would expect them to hold me accountable to provide budgetary oversight, also oversight around instructional materials, teacher credentialing. So I would ask that they would hold my feet to the fire and make sure that I was doing what I said I would do.
Thank you. Helen?
Okay, my answer is all of what you've just heard, except I've got something I feel is more important. And that is that you may have noticed in the paper in January, there was an article about Fresno Unified, about 70,000 kids. Their health care costs have not gone up a penny since 2007. And yet all of the districts in Alameda County are hemorrhaging money in terms of healthcare costs. This is really a problem, and this has been a missed opportunity at Alameda County Office of Ed, because this is the nexus where this conversation should have taken place, where we could have become an economies of scale with 220,000 roughly students in Alameda County to not have our health care costs go up a penny since 2007, and still the conversation hasn't taken place. So the day that I become superintendent, that's one of the first conversations I need to have with the superintendents, because I think they will all jump on the bandwagon and say, we need this so bad, and we needed it a long time ago.
Thank you. Ursula?
The first thing I would do is ask them to be honest with me. Ask them, what do they need from the county as far as resources, as far as advocacy? I would want to ask them, what do they need from the county? What do they think were the downfalls of the county in the past? And where can the county shore